Hi, Shauna Karish here with another Ask Shauna answer. This question comes from Vicky, and she says, "Hi Shauna, I recently adopted 2 standard Genets from a donkey shelter. I've had both of them about a month. One is just fine, but the other is becoming increasingly fearful. When she first arrived, I was able to clean all 4 of her feet, and she loved having her ears scratched. Then she gradually began to be more reluctant about her feet. At this point, I seem to make her very nervous. She will allow me to put a halter on her and lead her, and she doesn't mind being brushed. However, anytime I'm touching her, her ears are twitching and she is tense. She suddenly startles if I make any unexpected movements, and this is a new behavior for her. She was allowing, she is much more relaxed around my husband, but last week stopped allowing him to touch her feet. As she appears frightened rather than dominant, I would like to try to gain her trust rather than pushing her. Both the shelter and my vet had recommended tying her halter to a fence and then trying to work on her feet, but it only seems to frighten her the more. In addition, she spends a lot of time scratching, and I would like to use some medicated shampoo on her, but would like to show her that I'm not a threat before I attempt it. I worry that forcing anything will reinforce her fear, but I do need to clean her hooves and treat her coat. I just don't know what is scaring her since the other donkeys are still as affectionate as ever." Okay, well Vicki, I'm glad that you are seeking a different route than the tying her to a fence, because honestly, I think that is, she already is mistrustful, and to feel, I think it'll just add to it. Like you said, I think it's going to add to her fear. It's not going to increase her. I just need to deal with this. I mean, she is learning how to get out of it. So we don't know necessarily what is happening, but the best thing that you can do is to gain her trust. So we don't know what's causing her to be worried. I mean, she started off one way, which maybe she was just fearful all the while, but was afraid to show it. And now she's kind of feeling more confident, and confident enough to show you that she's worried, not feeling so worried about what might happen, if that makes sense. So the first thing I'm going to recommend, which you may have already done, but I just have to say it, is be sure there's not something going on physically with her. So talk to your vet, make sure we've checked out her feet, and if you have to do it for the first time with tranquilizer or, sedate her, do what you need to do to make it be a pleasant experience for her and get a good look. I would rather, if it were my donkey, I would rather go that route than have to frighten her and scare her all the while. I think that if you just kind of manhandle her and do it, I think that it's going to be more fearful than if she just kind of gets tranquilized and quiet and hardly knows you're touching them. I mean, it's not a great option, but for now, that's how you have to investigate and find out and look at her feet and get a good diagnosis or rule out anything physical. So once we've ruled out anything physical, now what we're dealing with is behavioral. It doesn't mean it didn't have a physical initial trigger for that, but for now we need to get her back on track or on target for getting your trust. The first thing I would start to do, since fear is her big thing, what I would do is I would sit low someplace, like sit in a place where it's just you and her, or the others are going to leave you alone, and I'd sit with a bucket of food and something that she likes, and whenever she comes up, I would reinforce her. I'd click and reinforce, click and reinforce, click and reinforce. So she starts to learn the click is okay. The reason I want you to sit on the ground is because it puts you at the least threatening place you can be. When you're down low, they feel bolder and less like you're about to do something. And so I find that when I'm working with like feral horses or horses that are just babies and don't know anything about people, that's what I do. I sit low on the ground. I'll just sit with my little bucket. And if that's even too much, I have the bucket out in front of me and slowly let them get used to eating near me and slowly pull it closer till eventually I'll put my hand in the bottom, let them eat down to my hand, and then raise it up. I don't think you're quite at that point with her, but that's just something to keep in mind. But I would start low and build her trust and get her, even though she's probably maybe she'll be fine with that, I think we need to go all the way back. When she gets to the point where she's showing you so much fear, she's showing you that she's what we call above threshold. She's got to the point where it's too much. She's worried. As soon as she shows you the slightest little head coming up, she's saying, that worries me. So I want you to kind of recognize that and go, okay, this is a point that is uncomfortable for her, and try and work from there. So I think if you start on the ground first, just getting her to come over and getting a strong and good association with you and something positive, something she likes, and they all like food, I think that this will do a lot to rebalance those scales. And I want you to also keep in mind, if any behavior increases in frequency, there's a reason for it. Something's reinforcing it. Either they're getting something they want or avoiding something they don't want. And since her fear is increasing with you, or standoffishness, and now is increasing with your husband too, for some reason this is serving her. There's something that, you know, she wants to get away from something, and her fear is getting her away from whatever it is. So what we want to do is start to see more of a better reaction. So whatever it is, it currently has something that it's serving her. So we want to counterbalance it. So right now, it's kind of like scales that are out of whack. There's a lot of side on this side that says stay away from the people, worry about the people. Every time you get a chance to reinforce her for relaxation and being closer to you, and relaxation and being closer to you, you're going to put more and more weight on this side of the scale. And she'll have a decision to make. What do I want to do? So as you come up, she thinks, stay, go, stay, go. What do I do? As we get more reinforcement on this side of the scale, she's going to make the choice to stay. But it may take a little bit of time for her to get that, just a little repetition. And I think another thing that would be really good is to do the little 3 to 5 minute sessions, really short and brief, since there's some fear of people already. If you do it really short and brief, I think that you're leaving, and she'll say, that's all you had to do. You know, it won't be that it's escalating to something that's scary to her, which she's probably anticipating at this point. So that's what I would do, and let her feet and her coat go until you can get her trust, if you can. I mean, if your vet says, no, we need to deal with it, then I would do what you can to get her mentally, you know, do what you need to do that, and like I said, I'd rather you go the medication route than the manhandling route and just kind of tying her down and doing it, because I think that will really traumatize her. Anyway, Vicki, I think that you have you have kind of a big thing ahead of you, but a lot of times what happens with these ones that are fearful, it goes, once they don't want to be fearful, and once they get over their fear and they realize it's safe, they usually blossom. So I think you just have to be a little patient in the beginning, and you're going to get to a point where she's just going to trust you. I would also get her to follow you around as opposed to always trying to touch her. Teach her to come to you, you know, so feed her a little bit as you're first sitting on the ground, slowly you're standing up, and then you're walking around. Have her follow you, so it feels more like her idea. You know, if we always try and keep going to them and keep approaching them, we're always encroaching on their space. But if we teach them to kind of come to our space and then maybe walk away a little bit, it kind of can embolden them. Anyway, Vicki, I want you to please keep me posted, because I think you're going to have, this is just kind of the beginning. You're going to have more things that are going to come along. So please keep me posted on your progress. Okay, if you or anybody else has more questions, please don't hesitate to go to AskShawna.com. Until next time, enjoy getting your horse on target. Bye.